I'm going to say that Vasili's on his. Here we go. I'm just going to go live. Cosmonauts, this is the last panel of Cosmoverse. It has been a super awesome time. I am a little exhausted though. I am looking forward to a couple of beverages later this evening, and hopefully I get to talk to a lot of you fine people and meet all the ones that I haven't met yet. So, last but certainly not least, could I please bring up to the stage Dev, Mirko, and Rudra. And Vasily is on the way. He's someplace in the building, and I'm going to shuffle him on here as soon as I find him. So, good, guys, welcome aboard. Thanks for being the anchor. Thanks for holding down Cosmoverse, and let's go out with a bang. So,
all right, cool.
Sit in order.
Okay, I can. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Can you?
Wait,
yeah, perfect. Hi, guys. My name is Mirko. I'm the co-founder at stakingworlds.com. And today we're going to talk about staking derivatives and liquid staking in general. And I'm happy to have Dev from OSMOSIS and Rudraj from Persistence and hopefully Vasily in a bit. So, yeah, maybe you can just introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Dave. I work on some OSMOSIS chain development stuff, and yeah, looking forward to talking about staking derivatives. I think Sunny gave a talk a bit earlier about some of the ways we've been thinking about superfluid staking, etc. So I think we'll be excited for the panel.
Yeah, thanks for that introduction, Dave. So hi, everyone. I'm Rudraj. I'm with Persistence. And I actually come from a traditional tech background. And my journey with crypto as a whole started around the same time as it did with Persistence. And at Persistence, I look at strategy, business development, research, etc. And particularly with staking derivatives, I look at the overall project management for our product, that's pStake. So yeah, pretty excited to be here. Thank you for having us on. And yeah, looking forward to the chat.
Cool, great. So now that DeFi is starting to happen on Cosmos, and we have OSMOSIS, for example, and stuff, and the need for liquid staking solutions seems to be there definitely. And thinking about that, I think it makes sense to step back a bit and think about what are the main characteristics that a liquid staking solution should have, and how should it look like from a protocol perspective as well, maybe, and think about does a protocol need liquid staking, and is it sought after from the protocol, and what does it need to look like to be most useful for staking and also most useful for the protocol in general? So yeah, that's as a question to you guys.
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. What if I'm making a protocol? Do I want liquid staking on it? I think there's a couple different answers. One way you reason about it's as a user, why do users want liquid staking? Well, they want it either to avoid unbonding periods or to get more yields. Take their staked atoms and then go put them in DeFi or borrow against it, etc. But as a protocol designer, what do you want? The reason we have unbonding periods is for chain security, to try to avoid details like double signs or weak subjectivity attacks. So you want to have this guarantee that the user has those assets locked. But then it's a bit of a question, is this skirting of the, how composable do we want to be? And is skirting the unbonding period design goal or not? And you could argue you want full composability because you can't measure all of the use cases you want. Or you can't have a base layer fully permissionless enough to let that all be enabled. But it's not clear to me that should be the end state because of chain security issues, or even you want tokens. How else do you measure security if everything's fully liquid? So I think that what we should be designing for is making staking the terminal destination. Figure out how to get people to do what they want and then stake to keep staking as semantically meaning chain security?
That's really interesting take, Dev. And again, echoing on some of the points that you already mentioned in terms of why is liquid staking required. So again, end user perspective, people do need liquidity. And currently there's this opportunity cost and there's this decision point that people have to go through, like whether they want to stake or they want to participate in DeFi. And that really isn't required from an end user perspective, right? Because they want to leverage as much yield as there is out there. So yeah, that is what liquid staking aims to solve. Hi, welcome.
I'm sorry.
So I'll continue, and then maybe you can introduce, or you want to go and introduce your...
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
We were just talking about from the protocol perspective, why liquid staking may need it or not be needed, for example, and then also what are the main characteristics for stake narratives.
Yeah.
So, maybe you can also touch on that and add to the points from Dev and Runraj.
Yeah. So the gist of it, from my point of view, is that what liquid staking really need is liquidity. So the protocols are all really similar. There is very little differentiation between them. So it's the main thing that distinguishes one liquid staking protocol from the other is how liquid it is and how usable it is. So liquidity and integrations are the main differentiators.
Yeah. I'll also actually continue on the point that I was trying to make. So in terms of the required for liquid staking, that is it. Allowing users to leverage both the best of both worlds as the staking and the DeFi yields. And in terms of the characteristic itself, there are varied opinions in terms of the best approach that there can be. And liquid staking, I believe, has been really a hot topic of discussion throughout the conference as well. So yeah, there's the standard staking derivatives approach that the liquid staking solutions take, allowing people to stake assets, issue staking derivatives on top of their position, and that derivative token they can use in DeFi and participate in the ecosystem as a whole to generate additional yield. So that is staking derivatives. Again, as they've mentioned, that there's this alternative approach where you want to make staking the terminal solution. So and that is essentially the essence of superfluid staking, as Sunny also explained. So yeah, you want to let them play around in DeFi and then make them stake here. So again, on one end, we have the staking derivatives which are out there and it's working fine, it's tangible, bringing real value to the users and then allowing them to participate in DeFi. On the other hand, this approach, from the looks of it, under my opinion, comes with certain limitations. I can think of two of them. First is the scalability of it, which I also tried to highlight yesterday, is that how many liquidity pools, let's take example of liquidity pools, how many liquidity pools will you have to go through governance to get them whitelisted, and how many chain upgrades are we looking at to actually allow those liquidity pools, the participants of those pools to participate in superfluid staking. So that is one. Scalability is the issue that I see, and the second is fungibility. Composability, right? So the beauty of the Ethereum ecosystem is that you can play around, and probably why you guys have been really successful on ensuring that there's enough liquidity for STETH as well, is that you can play around with those derivatives as much as you can. You don't want to really put a full stop on what people can do. And right now, there's just osmosis, and that is the definition of DeFi for now. But that is not all there is. And if you have staking derivatives instead of trying to put staking as the terminal solution, that is essentially defeating the purpose of liquid staking as a whole, where you wanted people in the first place to play around in DeFi. But if you're putting a full stop, then you're ending the adventure there for them. And,
So I think we should an interesting question here is in LIDO, how important. So in LIDO, one of the huge things that ETH2, it's staking for ETH2, and one of the problems is you have to bond 32 ETH at once in order to be a participant, which is now 100K, which is unreasonable. So I guess the question I have is, how important was it like to you folks that to make your ETH like liquid, like directly sellable, versus just letting people fungify and like delegate sub 32 ETH? Like, would the product miss if it wasn't liquid? It was just for letting people delegate sub 32 ETH.
I'd say that it had been really, really important. Like, it's not even a question that people would prefer optionality of liquid staking over illiquid staking, basically. That's the reason people are staking with exchanges right now. So they can have staking and trading at the same time. So like people don't usually think about that, but there are flourishing liquid staking solutions for almost every chain, and it's taken exchanges. And the Cosmos, it's like 15% of stake. In Ethereum, it's I don't know, maybe 30% of all staked ETH, maybe 25 at least. And that proves that that's product that needs optionality, ability to trade, to be liquid, and staking at the same time. Just cutting it up in small pieces doesn't cut it.
So as a protocol, are we like, is this design basically going to be centralized in the stake distribution? If you have it be this, or like letting this one DAO kind of determine, be the kingmaker, what validators get all the stake? Because like imagine, if LIDO chooses which validators it funnels to, I imagine if most people are delegating through LIDO, then LIDO is the decentralization like decider of the chain. And is that a equilibrium that like, I don't know, I guess how is this being perceived in ETH2? Like, is this a danger to the decentralization narrative or the like fast finality narratives trying to go for?
That's absolutely a danger. So my opinion is that liquid staking is inevitable. All staking will be, like almost all staking will be liquid, like in 5 years maybe. And we don't get to choose like there is like good liquid stake or bad liquid staking and good like general staking. We get to choose what there is between them. We get to choose between liquid staking flavors, and we need to choose that like good liquid staking flavor versus bad. That's what the choice is. So LIDO is building what is like the best of the products that can actually win, and we don't want to be kingmakers. That's like a temporary trade-off that we had to do in order to like actually launch, instead of making our protocols like 3 years in a row until the exchanges take like 90% of stake instead of 15. And we want to make this like a lot less trustful. But that's like a long way from being actually developed, because it's a very tough solution, very tough problem. So
yeah, and after all, it is an iterative process, right? So as experimental as liquid staking is right now, but there's so many varied and almost contradicting or opposite opinions, you just want to build something that people can actually use, go out there, test the water, see if the model works for people, see if it's bringing actual value, take feedback, come back, and build something better. So
it's not clear that's a safe thing to do about security. Like, this is a fundamental assumption that our end users who are trying to get like staking yield great at deciding like key security metrics. Like, so you see this in all the blockchains really. Like, stake centralization is kind of an indicator of this already. Like, Cosmos, Cosmos Hub or Osmosis, like top 3 to 5 validators of 33% of the chain, enough to cause liveness fault. This should be a sign of like a failure of like the current mechanisms for deciding who gets stake. Like that users right now today are not being given the tools to reason about security effectively. And then liquid staking is just further like honing in on making it hard to reason about security effectively, or really like eliminating all the security guarantees that are already not being effectively done. So I'm not sure that the fundamental claim of like design, it depends how you view security trade-offs for design, iterate, like, and just test out the waters.
in my opinion, not a lot of users even care about how the security model is functioning at the protocol level, right? If you talk about an end user point of view, if you're using a DeFi application, that is not the first checkbox that you want to take. You want higher yield, you want more convenience, you want the seamless user experience, and that is, I think, what the liquid staking applications currently being built have been optimizing for. So you want to take some decision points off of the user's shoulders, and again, there's these models of distributed or socialized slashing, and all of these are essentially because you're taking some decision points of the user, and you again don't want to make them accountable if something goes wrong with that decision as well. So users are there to like get yield in DeFi, right? They just want to make their money work for them, and till some point, again, as an application, it definitely is a responsibility that you have to take care of on your end instead of putting it on the users. But again, we're building towards that, and that is a constant improvement of sorts, because again, something that might seemingly be the best solution from a security point of view might not be so in 2-3 months, because not just the liquid staking applications themselves, but if you talk about Cosmos, the underlying chain is also evolving, right? We had this pretty interesting and insightful talk from Billy as well about interchain security, and a bunch of stuff is happening at the underlying chain as well. So as an application that is on top of the protocol, like,
but
you're going to be evolving as well.
Like staking is, so that's kind of like saying proof of work is an application of Bitcoin. No, proof of work is what drives Bitcoin. You don't get to reason about staking like an application on top that's just serving yield. Similar, like, it is this core service, this core risk situation. Like, it's the thing that defines your blockchain.
Yeah, but even as important as it is to have like staking as like the main terminal and the main security model, and we need to maintain decentralization there and so on. Like, as long as there are lockup periods and unbonding periods, there are going to be people building liquid staking solutions. They're going to be like DeFi apps, like, which accept the derivatives as collateral or whatever. So there's really no way around it. And I think the question is like, how should the staking derivatives or liquid staking solutions be designed in order to like really support the ethos of decentralization and everything else? Or like, should like the main protocol, the incentives model be changed, like on like the native layer 1 level, to not have any unbonding or staking like lockup periods or anything? Is that something that you already thought about, maybe, as like, for example, that these liquid staking solutions could be, or like models of that could be implemented in like the native chains, for example?
I've thought a lot about it, actually, still thinking. The gist of it, I think that I don't see a good protocol solution that can replace LIDO. There is like, LIDO is opinionated thing, and base protocol can't be opinionated. And you have to be opinionated in order to make the liquid staking actually fungible, and you need fungible liquid staking to make it actually liquid. So like, you can't make it into protocol, in my opinion.
How much fungibility do we think you would need? Like, would it be, this is a giant question, like, would it be terrible if there was, say, 2 LIDO pools, each one had a different...
Yes. Yes, it would be terrible, yeah.
Why wouldn't we expect ARBs and stable swap like things to reason about the security risk? Is it just because security risk isn't something that's going to be reasoned about at a stable swap layer, or like via?
Like, stable swap layer can't really access risk. Like, it's also an opinionated layer on opinionated layer, and if it's successful, it's again a way to manage valid data set that can be like done without stable swap at all. You don't need stable swap to manage valid data set. It's like, but like, what I was getting to is that it can't be done in native protocol, in my opinion, like solution, or like really liquid staking. And stakers are not great at making operational decisions. They can't do that, but they are pretty good at making directional decisions. So they can have input in forms like, we want more decentralization, or we want less decentralization but more performance, or something like that. That we can take from stakers. And we also, like, stakers are not the only driving force in decentralized community, because along with stakers there are protocol development, the application development, the world at large. And liquid staking solutions should be like a kind of like an operational, the actor who is good on operational decisions. Maybe it's automated, maybe it's like human driven. I think it should be automated to be neutral, but we're a long way from that. But the gist of it, it takes pointers from the power groups in protocol and out of protocol and condense them into a validator set and stake distribution. And that's not an easy task, but like it's a way to actually have stake centralization, like abate a little, be a little less, and it can be trustless enough, made trustless enough to not be like a threat to the ecosystem it works in. So.
And even without the liquid staking solutions, let's say that didn't exist, the stake centralization issue is still as prevailing as ever. And if we are talking about the point that Mirko also brought up, if it was implemented at the native level, the fungibility issue that would inherently arise. So, if that happens, and if and when that happens, because we've already had listened to chats about that in plans, and again, two people staking through different validators would not quite have tokens that are fungible with each other. And after all, we might again be looking at an extra layer on top, which consolidates this NFTs and builds an index of sorts, and then issues an index token, and that index token will now be used as a staking derivative token that is fungible and is used amongst DeFi. So after all, even if it is implemented at the native level, there just might be a possibility that there's another layer on top, an app layer, just to deal with the fungibility issue.
Right. Well, okay. There's two separate parts here. Like, I guess one part is like, how does, suppose we have, we're talking about like making a one funnel that like people stake into that, get liquid staking token out, and that funnel chooses the set of validators to distribute the stake to. There's a question of how should that be controlled, and the second question of like, okay, well, the alternative approach is you have a separate token per validator, and you figure out how to fungify that on top. So it's like two separate lines of questioning. I think one.
It's the same, basically, actually.
Why? Because one is like, how do you have a central operator effectively choose? But that's one, they're choosing the fungible, like what they define as fungible. Like one stake token to them means 0.1 to validator A, 0.1 to validator B.
Yeah. So even if you have an app layer on top, it is going to be a third-party application. There's going to be dealing with a bunch of validators and dealing with the NFTs or that they're issuing.
So we have a solution in Luna called Biluna. We were talking about it just like this morning, and it, unlike Ethereum, it does have a drop-down selector of what validator you want to stake to when you enter the liquid staking solution. So that was like kind of experiment, like an option, like to see what people are doing. And this solution has 80% of stake in two validators out of 16.
Yeah.
So like it can be done, that shouldn't be done.
Sorry. Yeah, I think that's some great points, and it's a great discussion. Anyway, I think we are running out of time, and it's clear that like it's still very early, and like there are a lot of things to be figured out, I guess. Maybe we can just end the panel with like some predictions, like very short predictions from each of you in the panel. Like, what do you think will be like the market share between native staking and liquid staking? However that is designed, like in the like let's say in 5 years or something, maybe like as a percentage or market share. Each of you can just briefly give a prediction.
I'd say that on any chain that is worth staking, about 80% of all tokens not controlled by a foundation will be liquid staking.
Thinking about market share is inherently assuming that there's going to be this competition and there's going to be multiple disjoint components that are going to be working differently from each other. But how I'd like to predict, maybe it's a little too ideal prediction, but right now, like we have staking derivatives that's working. As I already mentioned, I might be repeating myself. So it's working, they have tangible value, and it is something that's tested. All other approaches are in development, but I would want to believe that maybe there's some common ground. Maybe there are some components out of native liquid staking. Of course, all of these approaches have their shortcomings. Liquid staking also is not the most optimum. and not built in the most optimum way. There are several trade-offs, built into all applications currently existing. Maybe there's some middle ground where we can pick some parts out of superfluid staking and native staking and integrate it with the current liquid staking solutions to like provide the most optimum experience for users as well, and at the same time while ensuring that at the chain level the security issue is dealt with in the most efficient way as possible. Yeah, I don't really want to predict a market share here because
I mean it's
yeah.
tough. Yeah, and
yeah, it's
I don't know. Like the middle ground would probably mean like a trade-off for decentralization from the native level. So it would probably be still considered like a liquid staking.
yeah.
But yeah, so you're also like on this side of like.
Yeah, but if that's the case, then yes, liquid staking is going to be a dominant solution, at least from the looks of it. Yes. Yeah.
I think there's maybe two different types of chains to think about. Like one is in a chain where you control the base layer, one which you don't. Sorry, I'm assuming we take liquid staking to mean like instantly sellable staked. If you don't control the base layer, like ETH2, I think it's kind of clear that it's going to be near 100%. But if you control, I mean, these are all, but there's experiments that need to happen for the details of how you do it, like how you choose decentralization. For chains where you control the base layer, I think it's incredibly open. Like, I think it's still unclear as a protocol designer to what extent you want to make it native and what design you go for. And I think it's going to be binary, where some chains will be near 0, or some chains will be near 100%. And it's going to, and that experiment is like something that needs to be ran. I don't think we're going to end up with 50% liquid, 50% not. It's going to be 100% or 0 for almost everything.
Yeah, good point.
I tend to agree with that a lot. Yeah. Cool. So I think that's it. Thanks all for being part of it.